What does a day in the life of a mortgage broker look like? That is something that if you're thinking about starting this career, you definitely want to know. That is by far probably number one. And the issue with this is if you don't know what it is, you could end up making, again, a mistake thinking this career is for you, and actually it could not be. It could actually be way further from what you actually thought it was going to be. And so the goal of today's video is to try and unpack them for you, share the experiences of what a broker does every single day. Some days are different, obviously, but the vast majority of them are going to be very, very similar. And so I'm going to unpack that for you today. Now, my name is Ash Borland. I'm a business coach helping mortgage brokers simplify success. And over the years, I've helped hundreds of advisors improve their impact and income. And hopefully I can do something and help you the same today. Now, let's talk a little bit about this idea of what a broker does. Because I know when I started as a broker, before I even became a broker, I didn't really understand what they fully did. I was an estate agent. I thought that their job looked fun, it looked interesting, but the truth was, and the real issue was, I didn't really have a clue. I didn't have a clue what to expect. It was nothing like a estate agency. It seemed very similar because it was in the similar niche, but the reality was that I didn't know, because apart from what people going into a room, they seem to like the guy, they come out and they're happy and smiling. I didn't really know what was going on. Sounds a bit suggestive, I guess, but not really. So that was an issue. Now, the realization for me was when I actually got trained as a broker and started to learn the job, I realized there was a lot of stuff. One, it wasn't just like making people kind of find the right deals for them. It wasn't just that. There was so many other things to do. It was like juggling plates all the time. It was crazy. And it's very, very stressful. And so I want to unpack, there's about 5 things that are like kind of the main things that a mortgage broker is going to do pretty much daily. And hopefully, if you're thinking about this career, you can then see if this is for you. And if it is for you, great. And if it's not for you, even better. Either way, we get into a decision. So the very first thing is that a mortgage broker is going to do pretty much every single day. You're going to have client discovery calls. So these are going to be where you're speaking to new people who need a mortgage. It would make sense, of course, that's what you're going to do. If you don't speak to quote leads or prospects or new clients, then you're never going to go anywhere. So this is about assessing clients' goals. It's about looking at their income, looking at their potential borrowing. These are, you probably, if you're really good and you're very busy, you might be doing anywhere up to 4 or 5 of these a day. If you are more self-employed, it might be more like 1 or 2 of these a week. If you're really starting out, they can really range. But this is the big part of the job that is I love. It's my favorite parts. Now, what's great about this part of the job is that it allows you to get to know people and interact with them. So if you're somebody who's very sociable, you want to help people, you like talking to people, this is great. If you're not that way, by the way, and you're someone who likes to be a bit more introverted and you like to do the research, the majority, or not the majority, but a big chunk of the job is actually interacting with people. So if that turns you away, run now. If that doesn't turn you away, carry on, because we can break down some more stuff. There's probably other stuff that might turn you away. And if you get through all 5 of these, you'll be a perfect fit. So the next one you have is the job is for sourcing mortgage deals. So this is about researching lenders. It's about rates. It's about criteria. It's all about using the sourcing system correctly. So this is just about once the client has left, it's the back end stuff. So it's the research. And there's a lot of research involved, meaning finding a solution to a problem. And I think that is, again, if you find that stressful, you just want an answer just like yes and no, that's not going to be the case. A lot of the time, you're going to have to be researching and looking for deals and kind of, looking at rates, looking at numbers, piecing everything together. And this is where the numbers bit comes in, and where some people think it's more like an accountancy based job. It's definitely not like that. And then some people think it's just a pure sales job. It's definitely not like that. It's probably a bit in the middle. It's kind of a middle ground. So the first bit being discovery calls, very human facing, very customer facing. Second bit being sourcing deals. It's going to be very numbers driven. Okay. So it's massively numbers driven and looking at what rates are and all of that stuff. Third part you have is problem solving and case structuring. So this is about navigating complex income, credit, property types. So yes, we are looking at rates and numbers, but there's also this sub-layer of criteria that you need to do. And that's what you're going to be doing as well. You'll be looking at solving problems. Most of the time, people don't come to brokers unless they have a problem. Usually, you can get some vanilla cases. They do exist, especially if you work in those corporates. But a lot of the time, if you do the job long enough, you'll end up being known for doing one type of thing. So that could be some sort of complex self-employed income, could be complex property types, could be complex property purchase structures within buy-to-let, limited company buy-to-lets, things like that. Multiple occupant, multiple lenders, multiple applicants over 2, for example. You can have these structures and these harder things. And so it's understanding that your day will be taken up by actually looking and going, okay, this is a big problem. How do I deal with that problem? So it is, like I said, big puzzle overcoming situations. By the way, this can be very stressful. So if you're somebody who gets kind of anxiety around high stress situations, something to really think about is this can be very stressful because your clients, this is their house, so they're going to be extremely stressed because it's their house. It's the most important thing to them, and so they are going to be freaking out. They are going to potentially be hounding you on the phone. And so if you are not someone who's good at dealing with that, again, red flag. If you're somebody who thinks you could, and I think you should, by the way, I think if you think you can, try it. But just be aware. This is not to put people off, by the way, at all. But I just want to be very honest and open, because I think sometimes it's sold as you can get 6 figures and do. Yes, it is, and it's incredibly gifted. Rewarding, not gifted. Incredibly rewarding career that can gift you with an incredible income. That's what I was trying to say. But it is not for everybody. And it's not what is often painted, which is this way to make lots of money very quick. Definitely not that. The fourth thing is lender and client communication. So this is liaising with underwriters. So you're going to go back and forth with lenders and underwriters and updating clients on progress. So it's lots of back and forth, lots of WhatsApp, lots of emails, lots of calls, lots of waiting on hold. In fact, some of my clients, they have 2 phones, one literally to call the lenders, the other one open for clients. It's all the time. So it's lots of communication. And so again, if you're somebody that's not maybe forward in the communication, something to consider. The reason being is because the more you harass them and push them and chase them, the more you're going to be known, the more likely the deal's going to get done. Within reason, obviously. Not being an idiot, but it is. The one who tries hardest for their clients is going to be the one who does successful business in the end. It's a really not correct English, but does well in the end. And that is massive part of the job. Back and forth with BDMs, which stands for Business Development Managers. They're going to be part of the bank, and just knowing where everyone's at and being that person, because that's your job. Your job is to be that kind of linchpin in the middle, the bit that everybody connects to. That's a broker's job. It's not just to find mortgages, it's to be the person they trust. That's why someone uses a broker. So this is what is a day in the life of a broker, all of these things. But what a broker actually does, and then what their job entails, that's a different thing, and we kind of touched on that a little bit, but you can check another video out on that if you want to. Now, the other bit, and this is one that I think is a big part of it. So, and a big part of the bit that people will talk about and maybe get a bit stressed about, which is admin, follow-up, protection. It's the compliance and heavy sales part of the role. So let's talk about admin first. Well, we're going to be talking about submitting applications, making sure they're compliant. Most mortgages normally can take about 3 to 5 hours to process from discovery call, including the hour of a discovery call, can take 3 to 5 hours to process on a standard case. If you can get that down to potentially 2 hours, if you're really, really good, it could balloon up to like 8 to 10 hours if it's a really tough case. Admin is really, really hard. And because it's a regulated industry, compliance around that admin to make sure it's accurate is so important. It's vital. In fact, you can lose your license and no longer work in the industry if you are not detail orientated and detail focused. And this is part of the job that if you ever speak to anybody, it will always come up. Administration, compliance, it's tough. It's not impossible, so I will say that. Everyone scares you. I know when I was studying to be a broker, I'm dyslexic. I was like, there's no chance I'm going to be able to do this. That's not true. I could do it. Many clients of mine can. You can too. So don't worry about it, but it is a huge part of your job. And I would say probably 30% of your job is going to be taken up. Say 33% would do the whole 33. So quarterly. I would say, actually, let's say 30% of your job is going to be taken up with, 33 will be taken up with client calls. 30% of the job is going to be taken up with research. 30% of that job is going to be taken up with admin. They're all like, third. Distribute wherever you want with the other bits. But it's a very even split, which means it's got like a admin, compliance, boring part of the role, a very charismatic, salesy part of the role, and then a very problem-solving kind of engineer brain, breaking things apart, part of the role. And it's very suited for lots of different types. What you will find normally, though, is that each individual person will normally gravitate to the thing they like the most and be very good at one and maybe averagely good at another and then really poor at another. That's normally the case. So yeah, that's normally the case. But admin is one of them. We also have the protection. So you will sell protection. Sales is part of that too. So that will be, if you don't see yourself as a salesperson, that is part of it. You will be selling and following up with people all the time. So like I said, lender and client communication is a big part of it. You're going to be following up all the time. So in the day of a life of a broker, pretty much everything you're going to be doing is all the stuff I've just spoken about. You're going to be talking to clients. You're going to be sourcing mortgage deals. You're going to be problem solving. You're going to be dealing with lenders. You're going to deal with admin, heavy loads of admin. And that is going to be every single day. No two cases are the same. That's always the great thing about it. It's always a bit different, but the day is the same. So the day is the same, the work is the same, but no individual case is the same. And I think that's what makes it so rewarding. Now, if you want to know what a mortgage broker actually does, so not just what their day looks like, but what they actually do for the job, you can check out this video on screen right now. Give it a click.